So we need a needle and we need a thread. What kind of thread do we need? If you've bought the wool thread pack, you will have wool threads. See how they're kind of fuzzy like this, and they come on a tan spool. The reason we like wool threads is because they blend in. Here's an example. I want those little stitches that I'm about to do. Can you see these tiny little purple ones here? Let me try zooming in. Can you see those tiny little purple stitches right there? That matches, and they're tiny, and I want them to blend in. So I have used a wool thread because the wool blends into the wool. And that's really the reason we like to use that wool thread. Mine is not going to blend in today because I need you to be able to see it. So when I get through, mine's going to be wonky colors and a little bit funny looking, but that's okay. It will have been served its purpose to show you how to do it. Okay. The needles that we prefer to use for most of our embroidery, we're going to be using chenille needles. This one feels like it's a chenille 24 or 22. Nope, this is a 24, so it's a little bit smaller, and that works with a smaller thread. We like chenille needles because they're sharp and they have great big eyes for you to be able to thread. If you do not have the wool thread, when I first started, I didn't have a good color assortment of wool thread, so I just used one strand of DMC floss. The DMC floss won't quite blend in as well, but it will blend in nicely enough. You can also use Sulky 12 petites. Those are about the right weight. You can use sewing thread, but it's thinner and will kind of dig into the background all the way along. You have to be a lot more careful with that. Okay, we need to tie a knot. I tie a knot. The way my mom taught me to tie a knot is to wrap the thread around your finger so that you have it where it crosses. Okay, then put your thumb on it and just kind of roll it off. And as you roll, it'll spin together and make a knot. Will it be a pretty knot? No, it will be an ugly knot. But we're working with wool, not fine embroidery, so we don't care. That will hide behind and no one will know. You can start anywhere you want, but start about a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch in from the edge. Okay, so we're going to pull it through. And now our applique stitches are going to go straight out. So we go straight out and down, and now I'm going in just the black, not the green, not the teal. But when we embroider, we want to keep our needle on top of the project. So we're going to go ahead and come out right there because that's where I want it to be. Rather than going down through the project and then doing what we call stabbity stitching, where we go down and then we stab until we find the right spot to come up, we're going to keep it on top like this. So pull that one through. How tight do you pull it? Pull it tight enough that it doesn't make it scalloped, but it doesn't leave a loop here. There's a big margin there for getting it close enough to the right size. So again, straight out and take a step forward. Straight out, take a step forward. So the purpose of this is to attach this wool to our black background. This is not a patch on a 4th grader's jeans, on the knee of a 4th grader's jeans that needs a lot of wear and tear. This is something that is going to sit, a pillow that's going to sit nicely somewhere in your house. So it might get a little bit of wear and tear, but not a ton. And so it's not important for us to have a bazillion stitches in between here. Right up here on the corner, to keep corners in place, you always want to take a stitch to the corner. So I come in on a diagonal for that corner stitch. And I'm a little bit careful when I pull it in place to make sure that it heads off to the diagonal and holds that corner down. Okay, here we go across the top. It looks like I've got room for a couple more stitches. Now yours should be blending in nicely because you'll be using a thread that matches. Okay, we're just going to keep going all the way around. If you use the wool thread, it is 85% wool and 15% acrylic. If it were 100% wool, my understanding is it would just shred. So that kind of tells you what it is. And it really only comes in one width. The brand that we like to use is called Elana from Wonderfill, E-L-L-A-N-A. Although Aurifil has a line that they call Lana. Apparently that means wool or sheep in other languages. So the Lana line, Wonderfill has about 63 colors, I believe there are. Aurifil has 200 colors in their collection. I own all of the R-Fill and all of the Wonderfill versions, and I still run into colors that I have to use embroidery floss because I cannot find they don't exist. So that kind of tells you it's not the end of the world to be using the embroidery floss. Okay, I think that one's a little too far away to go to the corner. Ideally, I probably could have had this a little bit further apart, but I'm going to do that one sideways and one right next to it that goes to the corner. Now again, these are going to be invisible stitches because you are going to do them out of the same color as your wool. Okay, across the bottom. So this is not a super big surprise as to what the outcome of this stitch along looks like. And so I want you to think for a minute about, or look at it and see what it looks like. It has the kind of an orange stripe that we're going to stitch down the side. And then it has a green edge around the rest of it. And that's what we're going to do as soon as we get done appliquing this, is to do that back stitch around the edge. Again to the corner. Okay, what do you do if you run out of thread in the middle? You get some more. You do need to tie it off in a knot on the back, and I will show you how to do that when I get to the end of mine. Almost every thread, except for ribbon and some of the super fancy fluffy ones, I always start with a yard. I do not like threading my needle. It's one of the slowest things that I do when I'm stitching, and so I use a yard each time in hopes of less stopping to thread the needle. Okay, ta-da, we got back to where we started. So I'm going to turn it over so that you can see how to tie the knot. You can tie the knot any way you want. We just need a knot in there. But I like to make a loop with these two fingers and then go under and come up through the middle, and that will give me a little knot right there. It isn't in the right place because I really need it to be right over here. But if you wiggle your fingers and this side and this side, you'll be able to get the knot right over that dot. And then you can just put your thumb down on top of the knot and pull, and it will leave the knot right there where you want it. Now this thread is not slippery. If it were a slippery thread, I would definitely tie 2 or 3 of these, but you really only need 1 to hold it in place. But just in case, I'll show you again. Make a loop, go underneath and up. The just in case part is just so that you can see it again, not because it needs it. Wiggle till you get it held down in the right spot. Put your thumb on it and pull through. Okay, there. We've got it appliqued. So now I will not do instructions the rest of the days for how to applique. It's the same process. We will applique each of the pieces in place, but that is how you applique. Okay, now we're on to embellishing.